Okay guys, this is the RW10CA 10-inch low profile active subwoofer, and this is one of the under the seat car subwoofers with the wiring kit. This was actually a complete kit, and I want to say it was about, I don't know, maybe $150 for this particular kit. So this kit here came in this box, and the box pretty much looked okay. There was a couple little bangs and stuff on it, but it had some little bubble wrap that was in the box along with these two things. So we're going to open that up. This kit will be going into this 2018 Dodge Ram SLT, and I will be putting this under the passenger side seat. So let's quickly take a look at what comes in the kit. Some tape on it. So we got the protective coating. You got your speaker wires, and I believe this is 8 gauge wire that it comes with. I'll have to look and see if that's 8 gauge or not, but all your wires are there. I guess this gives you your gauges on the back. Actually, this is the 10CA, so this should be 10 gauge wiring kit. So that should be 10 gauge wire, not 8 gauge. So that blue wire there should be actually 10 gauge. And you got a bunch of different connectors. Hopefully they gave me the T's to splice into the stereo speakers. If not, I'll have to go to like AutoZone or something, because I don't think I see the T's in there to splice into the speaker wires. So. Alright, well, if they didn't, not a big to-do. But that's the amp wiring kit. Now let's take a look at the actual subwoofer. Bear with me, I gotta get something to cut this open. Alright, let's cut this open. I did watch a video on YouTube, and the guy that installed it was installing it actually in a Camaro, and he said his didn't last that long, which of course I watched the video after I ordered it, but I guess like anything, you can get a lemon, or somebody could do something different. Screw something up. So basically on the front, it's just showing you a picture. It's saying peak power 800 watts, and I believe this is about 200 normal watts that are going to go through it. But seems like it's packaged pretty good. Ooh, it's got some weight to it actually. And you got some more wires in here, which that wire there. And you got some more wires, and you got the little hold downs. So when you mount it to the floor, you can screw that either into your carpet or into the base of your floor, I guess. I'm not sure if I'm going that route or not. And this might be the volume. Yeah, this is the base volume knob. to control your base. And get that. So the unit itself actually looks pretty slim, and so I just quickly laid it down inside under the seat here. You can see it's got plenty of clearance, but it just fits in almost perfectly for length. So it's bumping something in the front right now, and it just kind of fits. It just clears the two runners down here that your seat rides on. So this is almost a perfect fit, and I wasn't sure. I almost went with the 8-inch because I wasn't sure if this had the clearance, but when I measured it, it sounded like it had the clearance. I wasn't sure until I put this in. And once again, this is actually on this little floor protector there, but honestly, that's like a perfect fit in there. So if I actually got some either double-sided adhesive tape or some Velcro or something like that, that thing isn't going anywhere. But I'll have to figure out, because I don't usually four-wheel that much with this truck, so I don't think that would bounce around too much, but we'll have to see after it's all hooked up. What I'm going to try to do is tie this into either the rear or the front passenger speaker and get power for it that way. So I'm not sure if I'm going to face all these connectors from the rear. It depends. If I'm going to connect it to the rear speaker, then I'll leave it this way. If I'm going to connect it to the front speaker, I'll spin this guy around and go that route. So stay tuned and we'll get into this installation. So I'm looking right now for good ground, and I think I'm going to try right behind the seat here, the one that holds the seat to the floor. It's an 18 millimeter. I was going to try one of these bolts here, but it's one of those big Torx heads, and I don't have a Torx head that fits that size. I don't feel like running to the store to pick one up. So I'm going to go for here for now. This is for the ground wire. So I'm going to take this one out and we'll go from there. Okay, so I found a connector that actually fits on this 10 gauge wire, and the opening on that hole is big enough to throw this nut through, or bolt through. So when I go through there, now if I had some electrical grease or something, I'd probably layer that, but I don't. And once again, I'm not running to the store. So I'll see if this makes a decent enough ground for that once I screw this back in. So that's what I'm gonna do next. So all I did was strip this back with the wire strippers, put this through this connector, crimp it down, and now I'm gonna try and go into that bolt hole. All right, so that's on. It's actually locked down. It's pretty tight. I didn't go all the way tight, but it's tight enough where that seat's not coming out. I could have grogged it down some more. Now I'll eventually run this up front and put that into the right location, and this carpet will actually hide what's going on there, so you won't be able to see that connection. So all right, next to the front. Okay, so I had to pull it out the back because it's too tough to get this on the bottom end of that. And when you unscrew this guy, this is where the ground goes, but the wire goes almost like on a 45-degree angle underneath or whatever. So I slipped it out the back, had plenty of room, stuck the negative in there, well, not the negative, but the ground wire in there. So that's done for now, and we'll move on to the next part. All right, so the power wire I'm going to tackle next, and considering that I run nitrous on this thing, We already had a hole for one of the power wires for the nitrous. So I'm going to take this blue wire, which I don't know if I can focus in on it or not, but I'm going to try to run it through the same hole in this grommet that was already there and see where it ends up, and then try to snake it under the dashboard. So that's my next feat. I'm going to jump inside the truck and then see if I can find that wire. Okay, so where that line goes in underneath is way too tight and there's too many wire and harness near that location. So what I'm going to do is the normal. I'm going to drill into this plate here. That's basically that cover right there. I'm going to drill into that, and then they actually have a grommet in the kit that you can stick into that. So I'm going to run this wire through that and then insert that grommet into there. So that's my next feat. Okay, so hole drilled. Do not try to fit a drill in from this outside. You just don't have the clearance with all this shit going on. So after many attempts, I went from the inside of the cab and drilled outwards, and that's the little hole I made. And I'm not sure what size bit that is. I just grabbed it from a pile of bits I have, but just make sure you're maybe just slightly bigger than the diameter of the wire. And that seems to be a plastic cover. I don't even think it's metal because the drill bit just went right through it. So probably just a plastic cover. So honestly, I seriously don't think you even need the grommet. I was going to do the grommet, but you have to use a bigger drill bit to make a bigger hole to put the rubber grommet in. And considering that that's plastic, you should be all set. This wire is pretty heavily protected with the outer coating. So alright, now to the inside and snake this wire through. Alright, so it might be hard to see, but up there you can see the little white light in the center there, and the blue wire is coming out there. So all your pedals and stuff, what I'm going to do is find a little channel, see if I can sneak it through somewhere behind the dashboard cluster there and run it to the other side. So that's my next goal, is taking that wire and then just snaking it back, and then maybe using a couple of ties and just tie it up to something to just make sure it stays away from the pedals and the steering column and everything else. So all right. Okay, so the blue wire, I popped this bottom cover off and then basically took the power wire. You can see a little bit of it there, the blue wire. It's under there. Then I went behind the carpet here, and the blue wire's there. Came all the way across down here. And then all my little panels I already had removed. These are the little tracking panels here. They just pop off. And then I'm coming out over on the side here. So once the panels come on, you'll only have a little short distance of what you can actually see for power wire going through. And the speaker wire, which I should be able to tap into these guys here to actually get the music to play to it, is going to run down the same channel. Let me tell you something. This panel here has these little grommets in them. These are a bitch to get off. So you almost wreck this whole friggin' thing. So I ended up just grabbing needle nose pliers and yanking them out. But wow, these grommets are tough. All right. So to the speaker, so you can see kind of what's going on. So far I got the negative wire in, or the ground wire I should say. I keep saying negative wire. The ground wire and the power wire. So both those are in right now. The speaker wires are what I'm going to work on next. So this is actually not going too bad, but it's super hot out right now, so I'm sweating, and you really got to be a contortionist to get under that front dashboard and snake those wires. So, all right, we'll get back to this shortly. These little T-caps, or little, I don't know what you want to call them, but wire splitters or whatever. But so one wire is going to go on one side, the other wire is going to go on the other side, and then I'm going to basically crimp down on this, which is going to splice the two wires together, and they'll make a connection, and that should give me my sound power. And then I just flip this little thing over. I had these in the garage from another kit that I had, because this kit did not come with these. So you'll need something like this when you're actually splicing into other wires. So that's my next course of action. When I'm done, I'll kick this thing back on. Alright, so here you can see I tapped in to the yellow and green and the purple and green. Those supposedly, from what I found on the internet, were the left front or the right front speaker wires. So what I'm going to do now is connect power up to the battery and then see what happens. So stay tuned. Okay, so here's basically the completed process. So right here, if I can get my hand in there, I'm pointing at that little white connector. Those are the high level inputs that you use for the speakers. So I originally had it wrong, and the two auxiliary plugs that are right on the side of that, that's what I was having run into my speaker, and I wasn't able to get it working. Boy, was that frustrating. Do not make that mistake. Use the high level inputs. Those are the ones that you're going to use for this install. So after everything was said and done, after I plugged in the high level inputs, after reading up about it, the thing works flawlessly. So just to save yourself a lot of aggravation with the two auxiliary plugs there, that's if you're going to plug directly into your radio. And it may sound differently if you use them. The radio in this vehicle was not equipped with the RCA, basically the amplifier jacks, if you want to call it that, coming out of the radio. I didn't have a power wire for the remote wire that would go and power this unit up. So I definitely needed to use the radio speakers wires in order to power this, which is using those high level inputs versus the low level two auxiliary jacks there. So as you can see, it fits nicely, perfectly under the seat. The sound, I can't complain for basically like 150 bucks. It actually adds, this truck didn't really have bad speakers to begin with, so I actually had bass prior to that. The only thing I will say that with this unit that could be better is if it would absorb more of the bass from the other speakers, which I played around with the gains and stuff, and once again my head unit, I guess I could control that, but I'm assuming if I control the head unit to lower the speaker bass, this thing here might lose the bass as well. But that was my only grovel, that my speakers in the doors still get a lot of bass along with this. So I was hoping to be able to, you know, this was going to drain all that, but it still sounds really good. I can't complain, and everything now is all buttoned up. I got a ton of extra speaker wire behind this panel here, and then the only thing you can see right now are those blue power wires, the speaker wires and the power wire that come out of the channel underneath the seat. And then if you go in the back, I put the back side there, that way if people are sitting in the back seat and their feet go up against the unit itself, they're not screwing with anything. Basically they'll just bang into the frame of the subwoofer and not screw anything up. So that was one thing that I was thinking about when I was doing this install, if I wanted my controls on the back side or not, but I'd rather have them in the front. So all right, hopefully that helps, and if you guys have any questions, just let me know in the comments.